Hello everyone, welcome to EWB Night. I think we can start the entire event right now. And Melody, and thanks for all coming today. And just want to double check, like today we are going to have a dialogue on the urban revitalization, and we have Lauren to be our speaker. So I just want to make sure all of you joining the right event. And and at the same time, just want to like chit chat with all of you, like because I know somebody is quite new to me. Maybe don't feel shy and turn on the camera and speaker to introduce yourself. Maybe we can do like a short round table. Let me choose the most handsome and beautiful girls and boys. Let me pick. Wait, maybe Alfred? Not sure whether Alfred is really handsome or not because no photo at the moment, but welcome you to, maybe you can briefly introduce yourself to let us know about you. Okay, Alfred.
Hello. Certainly of no handsome face, so I just refrain from beaming my photos over. But just quickly to well, I'm myself is an architect and certainly have immense interest in the conservation field, and really coming to try to learn from your experience in Myanmar.
Oh, nice to meet you, Alfred. You can pick anyone to be the next handsome and beautiful guys.
Well, I can certainly see Edward, on the handsome face on the screen. So I think that would be a relief after seeing the audience will relieve to see me, not seeing me, but Edward.
Good evening. Good evening. Probably my camera got a beautifications apps. But anyway, I'm Edward Chen, the chairman of EWB Hong Kong. Tonight probably is our 15th EWB nights because we run this event every month. And I've been knowing Lauren for some years, and I know she has worked in Yangon for I cannot remember how many years, but anyway, she really worked in Myanmar before, and also because EWB have some years of connections with Myanmar, and also their engineering group, and also some charitable organizations in Yangon and some surrounding locations. But of course, I'm talking about the connection before COP. So we are disconnected for 2 to 3 years already. But because after COVID, I think we may have another chance going back to Myanmar. We have one guest tonight is Sandra. I met her just 2 or 3 months ago. She told me she just visit Yangon, and so I believe we can resume some of our programs sometime later. Melody, that's it.
Okay, yeah, because originally we planned to have more beautiful faces and handsome faces to talk, but Edward, you have already talked for 5 minutes, so maybe we should like move on to the It's okay. Just kidding. And then just want to quickly update all of you like what we did in the past months. Like in last month in July, we have also got our EW nights, and we had like Tiffany to share the Malaysia service trip, and you can see a lot of happy faces, and we will also have a video to show afterwards. Just keep being patient, and I will show you the video later on. But let me just quickly wrap up all the other things about EWB recently. So another news update is from the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, and I'm not going to read all the words, but just quickly update all of you, they have an academy, and there are lots of courses available on the portal. And if you are interested to take some CPD or and want to equip your engineering knowledge more, you can go to that website to take some courses. So this is a quick update. And then another one quick update would be the Global Citizenship Program. And just a week ago, we organized an evaluation with the, as you can see, with the presence of some faces you're familiar with, and the volunteers and participants together to give opinions and shares about their feelings about the entire program. So yeah, without further ado, I know you guys waited for the video for so long, and don't worry, the video will be as high quality, not as shown as the screen at the moment, but you need to give me some minutes to loading back the video at the moment. Wait.
So basically in GCP, what we did was every Saturday we had workshops, and it was not only workshops that we had in CityU. We also did some community outreach activities, because we don't really learn that in class. We mostly learn about the very technical side of engineering, and not really about how it can be used to help people during daily life.
大家好啊，我係 Brian。咁我今年係一個 Year 2嘅學生，就讀緊生物醫學工程學。喺頭嗰兩日嘅 conference 入邊啦，我哋要準備一個 TED Talk。之前半年嘅 workshop 入邊啦，我哋又圍繞住一個 waste management 嘅議題去進行呢個討論啦。喺呢個 conference 入邊都有一個環節，去同呢啲唔同國家嘅學生去交流翻，以佢哋嘅視覺係點樣可以處理啲廢物嘅問題。
我来参加这个活动是因为很想挑战一下自己，来看看自己的更多可能性。The most interesting for me， 我觉得是跟别人聊天，在聊天的过程之中，互相交换了自己的 idea， 然后呢也会发现哇，原来世界有着另一种可能性，大家看待同一件事情的想法也会完全不同。
大學可能係同啲馬來西亞嘅 EWB 嘅代表去傾偈咯。Conference 嘅時候咧。 我見到佢哋係會去 grab 一啲 opportunity 去講一啲嘢或者做一啲嘢 ，as 一個 leader 啊，即係去呢啲 position 咁樣咧，將呢啲 experience pass 俾呢啲 member 或者啲 committee， 跟住去一嚿入去做嗰啲嘢。
咁我哋今次嘅 service 主要係為咗解決村裏邊水資源受到污染嘅問題。為咗解決呢個問題，我哋就會起咗一個雨水收集系統。呢個 system 主要係 起喺兩棟 building for 翻村裏邊啲人使用。一直以為數學其實就係一個 paper 上嘅嘢，唔知點樣應用翻日常生活。但係今次當你做呢個 building 嘅時候，真係會用到。
我本身咧就比較中意係所有嘢都係落手做嘅，係靠你自己要一手一腳做一啲基建啊建設咁樣去改善人嘅生活。最大嘅得着咧就係 所有嘢唔可以淨係跟住個 plan 去做，要識得臨場應變咯。喺呢個資源有限、物資有限嘅地方，咁好多嘅嘢都要臨場去應變啦。喺有限嘅時間之下啦，咁我哋2、3日，就算啦天氣唔好落緊雨，喺情況許可之下啦，我哋都繼續復工嘅。
咁喺好多時候啦，馬來西亞都係好熱啦，咁陽光都好普照啦。咁但係咧，佢一落雨嗰陣時咧，就會落好大雨啊，行雷閃電啊。咁當佢落完雨之後咧，就太陽出翻嚟啦，咁就會啲水蒸氣就蒸翻上嚟，咁變咗好似一個蒸籠咁樣。喺呢個地方同埋氣候之下工作咧，係好辛苦嘅。做本地嘅義工，你只需要用一個我作為一個香港人嘅視角。咁但係馬來西亞人、香港人嘅居住環境啊、生活嘅習慣都唔一樣。我哋要用唔同嘅視角去睇我哋服務緊嘅人。喺當地做義工，除咗要諗方法幫助我哋當地人啦，同時間我哋都要尊重佢嘅文化。村嘅村莊嘅人啦，佢認為佢哋嘅唯一嘅水源就係嚟自一條有污染咗嘅河流。經過今次嘅水洗頭系統，當地嘅村民已經可以認為雨水係一個可以飲用嘅一個水源嚟㗎啦。所以今次嘅 surface trip 除咗解決技術嘅問題之外，更加重要嘅係帶領佢哋概念嘅改變。
喺呢個 trip 裏邊咧，我就都好多謝所有嘅 OC 嘅 village 呢啲地方，同埋天氣熱嘅時候咧，其實係幾辛苦嘅，精神上都會有好大嘅支持我啦。諗咗好多次係要放棄嘅，但係佢哋都繼續咁樣鼓勵我，咁我就完成咗呢一個 trip 咯。
What surprised me the most was how involved I was. A lot of conversations that we had with everyone else, meaningful conversations with everyone. Not only the participants, also the Malay people. I think everyone was really nice, and I was really glad that I was able to make a lot of friends through this trip.
Oh my God, it's so touching. So, no, don't cry. I saw Edward is crying. And yeah, we need to continue the event. So, let me share my other screen again. So after the video, if you want to view again and again, you can copy this YouTube link. Maybe later on I can share in the chat box. And then another update will be the EWB Global Get Together. So yeah, again, last week or last week, we have a Global Get Connect together with the people in Hong Kong, Canada, and Singapore. And as you can see, a lot of beautiful faces over here. But maybe next time, a better photo can show all the faces. And yeah, we are happy, even though some of the people are not in Hong Kong, they are eager to connect with us, and I'm happy that all of you, if you have time, you can also join the Global Get Together. And even you have Hong Kong, even if you are still in Hong Kong, maybe later on you will get to other places, then we can add more location over here. It's just kidding. And then another update of the supporter event will be a technical visit together with the AIB, Australian Institute of Buildings, to visit a factory that is doing the automation and MEP prefabrication. So I think one of the most important things that ever reminded me 1,000 times is that we need your spiritual support to join our events or becoming a speaker, but at the same time, we need your monetary support, giving us some actual support that can support the entire EWB to grow and more events can be organized. And yeah, we can have more funny events or interesting events to be organized with your support. Yeah, you can pay me, send to pay me. And then yeah, as you can see, I can give you 5 seconds to get this QR code to do the donation. So yeah, as you can see, like, well, if you can provide like $250 and we have more than 35, then okay, our EWB Hong Kong will grow to become a very big organization. So yeah, let's do it now. I will check. Like, did you do it, Edward? You need to support too. Okay, yeah. Oh, without further ado, maybe it's time to go to listen to the sharing from Lauren. And I'm sure like most of you will be very interested to know more about it. But I think Lauren will talk about her experience first. And then remind all of you, like afterwards, we will have a salon. That means during the salon, we encourage all of you to speak up. If you have any question or you have anything that would like to discuss with the speakers or even to the other audience, just don't be shy and voice out. And then, yeah, just want to make the salon to be like a salon. And yeah, welcome, Lauren.
Hi. And maybe I can share the screen. Let me try. This is the first page. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Can you see the screen? Yeah, I think so. Actually, this would be like more of a short dialogue and sharing with Edward as well on the topic of heritage conservation in Yangon. I happened to have the chance to do a practical training there 10 years ago. And Yangon was opened up in 2012, 11 years ago. So, and let's start from the cover page for the heritage buildings. This is the most famous minister building there in Yangon. It was the former secretariat, and it was like the declared monument here in Hong Kong. It was turned into a museum and cultural center in 2012. We can see that it's amazing. And when we talk about heritage conservation, we mainly focus on the tangible heritage and intangible heritage, as well as the character defining elements. We need to manage the changes during the process. So the 4 aspects, keep in mind. Why do we choose Yangon? Yangon was called Rangoon and Myanmar was called Burma during the British colonial at times. And Yangon was full of different Asian groups, immigrants during the 19th and 20th centuries. So the urban areas is with rich colonial buildings. When we talk about Yangon and Edward, and what's your first impression of Yangon? Maybe it's pagodas and Asian temples and colonial buildings.
My first time visiting Yangon probably go back to 2017. I didn't go to Pagoda in my first trip. Instead, I went to night market and try the food store, and of course, I cannot eat for 3 days afterward because of diarrhea. And also cross the river, go to some squatter area and also urban slum, and also visit some colonial age building, just like what you mentioned before. My first trip is going there with another EWB volunteer because we wish to explore another location for our students service learning. So before that we went to Cambodia, but for some reasons maybe we explain it to you later. And then we found another location maybe more in need. So we picked Myanmar. So that's why we take our first trip to Yangon in 2017.
Yeah, and during my time visit there, it was 2013. The political and economic liberalization just happened. So people started to realize that many heritage buildings are there and under threat and being knocked down for new developments. That's why the Yangon Heritage Trust was set up to do the recording. And we will talk about it later. And let's start from a glimpse of the historic Yangon first. Yangon was called a cosmopolitan Asian city built on diverse cultural traditions. The first modern city of Yangon was built by a background of a very strong religious background, early Buddhist pilgrimage site on the hill. And this is the Shwedagon Pagoda in the 1870s. Shwedagon Pagoda was a very symbolic building there. And this is the map of Yangon. This is where the Shwedagon Pagoda locates. And we can have a glimpse of the historic buildings in 3 walks. The first one is the downtown Yangon here, and the second is the financial and administrative districts of Yangon. The Chinatown and Traders Districts is next to it, and then the suburbs of the Yangon. You can see this is called the Suli Pagoda. Here, can you see my mouse here? Yeah. This is the Bojo Onsen Market. It's a very famous spot. If you visit Yangon, you can go here first. And along this famous Suli Pagoda Road, there are many signature works by famous architects and engineers during the ancient times. In the 19,000. The vast majority of the vernacular buildings along the road is a mix of styles from the Victorian to Art Deco. We can see the names for the buildings. It's mainly like City Hall, Telegraph Office, Church, High Court. And this is where the City Hall locates. There's a park, and we walk down the park. Next to the park, this is the High Court. And the Strand Road is where near the port, you can have a glimpse of the riverfront in the 1930s. Merchant Street, walk down the Merchant Street. It's where most shipping agents and import companies located, and also the US Embassy and Indian Embassy here. The Secretariat building in the cover page of the slides were under construction in the 19,000. And then we walk to the Chinatown. The Chinatown was full of the typical shop houses and clan shrines as anywhere else. And this is the location for the Chinatown. as Yangon is full of different ethnic minorities, including the British, Chinese, and Indians, and as well as Armenians. And we choose Chinatown, which reflects the influence of different groups of Chinese immigrants there. And first is the Fukienese people, and then Zhao, and then is Cantonese. We used to do a study of one of the street in Chinatown, and it's called the Saying Old Down Street. We first identified the sense of the place. We visited the people there. It's multi-ethnic, and the language is also multilingual. The communities there is of Chinese people with residential areas and ancestral halls. They still preserve the habit to do multi-religious activities. And the buildings there were very typical with the character defining elements we called CDEs, and can be identified by their wooden louvered shutter door windows with some ornamented plastered pediments, and over the roof ridges with feng shui signs, some various auspicious symbols. We all know in Chinese Asian building called the clouds, the bats, swallows are very auspicious symbols. And we can see we've done an inventory of the building in the street. And the uses of the buildings various. We can see that it varies from the temples to residential and stores and some association. For the heritage buildings, we need to identify its values, and architectural, aesthetic, and historic values of the buildings are the first we need to identify. You can see there a overall of the street there. Then we need to identify the social value and economic value for the buildings. Taiyuan Tong is one of the target buildings that we started on. It's for the people who gather there for festival activities. So it's with very high social value. And there are still shops selling herb leaves. There are still economic activities there. And Taiyuan Tong, these are the identified character defining elements in the Taiyuan Tong. It's a 3-story buildings and has been repaired in the 1970s. Although it was damaged, but being repaired by the Association of the Wong's Club. It acted as a club for the immigrants of Wong. And for the Sing Oldang Street, we identified that the most important for the street to preserve is the urban streetscape, and both the tangible and intangible heritage there. The tangible including the physical environment, the architecture, those signages of the buildings, and the intangible thing is the people there. There are still residents living in these buildings and the activities. So we suggested to have planning control system and making buffer zone to the Chinatown. And then let's look at the suburbs of historic Yangon. One of the most famous building there is the Pegu Club, where was a civil servant club during the British colonial times. And it's still standing there, this building. And there will be more pictures of it later. After we have a glimpse of the heritage buildings in Yangon, I want to share some urban heritage conservation actions in 2012 in Yangon. It mainly emphasis on the concept of from traditional conservation to a more modern concept of conservation. Is to focus, the traditional conservation concept is to focus on the monuments and the buildings of architectural and historical importance. But it's also transitioning to preserve the people and activities and the communities and the culture there. So, and we can see that Yangon used to have a listed buildings and Asian monuments like the graded historic buildings and declared monuments here in Hong Kong. And then it transitioned to preserve the traditional festivals and promoting the cultural events and defining the conservation zones there. So actions to be taken in the urban heritage conservation there is more responsible to use the vacant buildings instead of just listed the buildings and preserve it as a museum. And also raise the awareness of stakeholders to preserve the buildings and social viability. The key consideration for Yangon from one of the urban planner there of Myanmar is to preserve the Shwedagon Pagoda, the most significant architecture there, and the colonial downtown of Yangon, as well as the port and the port life. There are many green and open spaces there in Yangon, and also some specialized communities as well, such as the Chinatown we just introduced, and also Indian clusters there. When I was doing practical training there, we've done some zoning of the heritage buildings in downtown Yangon, and as well as using the recording forms for the heritage building to record those Yangon City Development Committee list of listed buildings. And let's have a look at some of the listed building. More photos coming. This is one of the famous Sophia's building. It was transformed into a gallery exhibition of contemporary Burmese art. These photos, we can see that it's dilapidating without proper maintenance. And the Pagoo Club, and it was made of teak, actually, the building, but it's also collapsing. These photos were also taken by me during my visit there. And we can see that the condition is not very bad, but without use of it, it can only be like vacant, and it's a waste of the space. And this is the Wazia cinema. Inside the cinema, the cinema was still in operation during my visit there, but I remember it was the last time it plays the movie. The Gandhi Hall, located at the corner of the Merchant Road. we can see there's no one using the building. Agricultural Development Bank. The bank was still in use during that time. It's Art Deco style. And these photos are random street views of the colonial downtown buildings of Yangon. We can see it's interesting. And Yangon Heritage Trust was, I have to mention this trust because those precious heritage conservation works were done by this trust and advocacy. This trust was founded by a well-known historian and author of many books, Dr. Tan Ming U. He was a Burmese who was raised in the United States, but he founded the trust to be an advisory group to the government at that time, to calling for preserving the heritage buildings of Yangon there. And Momo was the director of the Yangon Heritage Trust. This was 10 years ago when we were there. And they thought Yangon was in the need to conserve the heritage buildings and have a systematic guidelines to preserve the buildings before new development actually starts. But as far as I know, the organization expands in 2017 during Edward's visit there. But I now know that since 2 years ago, the political changes in Yangon, the organization is also under unknown changes now. So this is the Shwedagon Pagoda. And I want to show it here as a symbol of the Yangon's heritage buildings for all to appreciate. And want to emphasize again the 4 aspects of the heritage conservation there is to preserve the tangible and intangible heritage as well as the character defining elements. But we have to adapt to the changes and manage the changes during the conservation process. And yeah, I think this is all of the short sharing of Yangon's heritage conservation. Edward, we can have a dialogue over this related topic if you like.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, we have many people knowing Yangon or Myanmar or Southeast Asia in the Zoom. Even though it's I just mentioned Sandra, she has been visiting Yangon for many times because she is running a charitable organization. It's a children's home, and there are some homes in Yangon, and also Hoiko, our EWB volunteer, and also our secretary. He has been serving some locations in Myanmar some years ago, of course, some years ago. And Alfred, he is now staying in Singapore. That is a successful model for what we are seeing in Singapore. There are many architectural conservation projects and also many heritage buildings around the city. So there's something we can learn from each others. And of course, there are more and more popular nowadays in Hong Kong to conserve some old building, just like in Tai O, the police station, or even though we go back to the city, say Mong Kok, the Prince Edward East, there are some old buildings already revitalized. But I would think in this way, building, if there's no people, I don't think we have to conserve it, because it should be set as a remains or monuments anyway. But of course, just like what we are seeing in Yangon. Actually, I have been visiting Yangon for a few times, and many old buildings, and also Chinatowns and colonial buildings. We can see there are a lot of small communities inside, and of course, the maintenance and repairing is the big challenge for those old buildings, because no matter is the structure or sanitations or some basic utility service,
Hygiene.
it's in problems. It's in big problems actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Alfred or Sandra, do you have something to share? Actually, I have some photos, but maybe you share your view. Just like in Singapore, there are so many good experience.
Well, I think, first of all, I have to congratulate Lorraine's work in Myanmar. I think that's a very kind of admirable, passion, on this subject. Having worked in the UK, now Singapore, Hong Kong, and various parts of Asia. My reading, to the subject of conservation, it's really at the end of the day down to the economics. Whether economically we can actually make the conservation a reality is the utmost driver, for the subject. Edward, you kindly mentioned about Singapore. I think, interesting enough, when I was talking to one of the eminent people or academics in the field in Singapore, he actually cited, the actual conservation control, or in terms of the governance, is in fact not as how should I say, not as complete and controlled in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong governance in terms of conservation control is much better written down, in its approach. But when you say Singapore seems to be doing well, I think it's also somehow driven by the economics. I was in Myanmar in 2016. All the buildings that Lorraine has cited us, we were very impressed. In fact, I would argue in the entire geography of Southeast Asia, Yangon actually possessed the largest and the most valuable set of heritage building, in the region. Now, the sad thing is, obviously, it's not because of there's no passion or no determination, by people like Lorraine to kind of foster, this movement. I think the sad thing is, at the end of the day, is the economics of the city. That's not actually help to drive the process. Reason being is in my trip in 2016 to Myanmar, we were actually accompanying a group of developers, eyeing, at or looking at various development possibilities in the city. Unfortunately, unlike other maybe cities around the world, the government do not have enough resources to put into to aid the development. So voluntary organizations such as a trust would actually serve a very good advisory role. Question is whether there is enough statutory. One is whether there's enough statutory control is the key thing over the development. Second is whether there's enough incentive, financial incentive, to drive the process, as an investment for the developers. But certainly in 2016, we didn't see either of those drivers on the ground. So I mentioned about Singapore. Singapore government certainly has that drive in recent years, and also because of the economic of the city, that makes all these kind of conservation projects economically viable to proceed. So I think those are the two key drivers, irrespective where we go around the world, in order to make conservation and a success. Those are the key parameters that we need to have in place to make that work. So that's my observation so far. And obviously, we do need a little bit of education to the general public, and so that there is a general desire from the society that these heritage buildings are worth keeping. But having said that, the key thing is there is economic and financial incentive for the developers who are willing to put money into these projects. That's my 2 cents.
Alfred, I totally agree what you just mentioned. Economic is one of the driver. Another driver is I can say is may not be the driver. Is another hurdle is the ownership of those building. Maybe let me share with you let me see, is that one? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
It's a photo taken in 2018. You can see the photo showing the old building some years ago, maybe 80 or 50 years ago, I don't know. But behind is the actual conditions. And when you go inside, you can see the conditions is really poor. The water pipe, the drainage pipe, parallel with those the roots of trees inside the building, and the structure are heavily damaged. And you can see the environmental hygiene around is really poor. We would think because when you walk along the riverside, we can see there are many colonial heritage buildings. It should be the city center. If we are talking about the economy, the location it should be a good locations. But when we talk to Yangon Heritage Church, just like this photo showing, we have a tour with the trust and also with our students going there, and they talk to us the ownership is another hurdles, because maybe let me share with you another photo is many people are actually living inside, but who are the owners? Who are the tenants? Probably they don't know. So if they want to enforce certain regulations or maybe we have there is some maybe NGO wish to do something, even though it's a Yangon Heritage Trust, the hurdle is that they cannot find the right owner. So so economy and ownership is the hurdles are what I can see. Lauren, have you come across the ownership problems when you walk along the Chinatown?
The Chinatown, yeah, the ownership of the houses in Chinatown, they are like private owned. It's not the government owned. So you have to like make some incentives to the private owners, or some of the private owners, they can form like association to invest in the conservation of that specific building. We can see that the temples, the shrines, the ancestral halls can be well maintained because there is a association behind it.
Yeah, just on this subject of ownership, I think that makes interesting reading. I'm just trying to maybe cite some maybe what we call success stories around the world, how we could actually get over it, or in fact how government could inject, you know, the financial incentives to make that work. I'm just looking at, I mean, I'm here in London or here in UK. What the conservation process can be quite successfully nurtured by the kind of public and private partnership, in the sense that there used to be a kind of 50-50 or a pound for pound investment. What it means is, you know, private owners could, obviously, most of them could not afford, you know, the such an investment. So what the government does is they will match pound for pound, you know, the private individuals will put in to restore and maintain the building. The other source of finance will be actually coming in from the voluntary bodies, such as the equivalents of the Heritage Trust in Myanmar. But what they do is they actually manage to raise finance with public donation, and every single visit to these heritage estates, you know, the membership and also the donation raised will be actually injected into and injected as a grant, you know, for these conservation project. So basically, it's almost like a tripartite, you know, kind of cooperation, public, private, and then NGO through charity. And in recent years, it's also been aided by the lottery fund as well. So I think, you know, but in order to make that kind of infrastructure in place, I think the obvious thing is to raise the awareness, you know, and the passion of the general public through education.
Yes. I would think another success factors for urban revitalization is some sort of a regulatory instruments. Just like in Hong Kong, I just mentioned about Prince Edward Road, the case of probably around 10 or 12 old buildings, a cluster of old buildings. If there is no regulatory instruments, URA, the Urban Renewal Authority, cannot acquire all the ownership. because there is a regulations if we have possessed the ownership for over 80%, we can go for mandatory acquisitions for those old properties. So I think such an instrument is in case of some ownership is unclear, and maybe some of the owners are reluctant to sell the property, but the building is really in bad conditions. So it's the way out. I think it seems in Myanmar there's no such instruments in place. So and also the ownership is unclear, and also money is another hurdle. Because it's very expensive to repair those old buildings, and also spend a lot of money for long-term maintenance of operations. So I can see the hurdles, but it's not impossible because there are many successful showcase. But of course, the local economy is a key issue. What do you think, Luann?點啊，廖燕？
係啊，冇錯。I totally agree with Edwards.
Yeah, but of course, just like in Hong Kong, many of those heritage building, just like Dai Kwun, the Hollywood Road police stations, or many old buildings, the government mindset is okay because of the economic reasons. Those heritage building has to be converted to retail or F&B, and also on top of high-end restaurants are very expensive.
Luxury.
Yeah. So it seems
the building, can the operation be sustainable here?
Yeah, maybe economically is sustainable, but it seems many of such vitalizations go to this model.
Yeah, I think on that matter, I think we also need to be very careful about conserving, heritage. Is it for the conservation of the building's sake, or for the community? I think preserving the communities is even a bigger challenge. I mean, you cited because of the economics, of the expense that one has to put in, to restore the building fabrics, that somehow would actually raise the value of the building, and therefore any kind of private enterprises will try to recoup, the investment made, and therefore, some of the buildings, as we see in Hong Kong or in some other places, will turn into almost like expensive destinations where the original residents and community has been displaced. So that is somehow that is a phenomenon that we probably have to think about, and whether that is for the genuine good of the neighborhood. Now, the early example I posted in the UK terms is that actually there is incentive for the original residents to take part in the whole process of revitalization. So that's where these sort of government grant and self-build program can be run together. I mean, one very good example is there is a UNESCO award housing schemes which actually preserve the 1930s neighborhood in Liverpool, where the whole entire community was retained. But more importantly, they actually participated in the design, participated in the building, in a kind of self-build program, and more importantly, they are involved with the running and the management of the community after completion. So we have to think about not only how to make these projects to come about, but also think about how they will be managed and make that truly sustainable in both economic, social, and financially viable project.
Actually, Loi Sun Chun is one of the, I think, successful projects here in Hong Kong for the urban revitalization or urban conservation heritage. It was a tonglao and transformed into a Chinese medicine clinic and operating by the Baptist University, serving the local neighborhood community as a clinic. So I think,
yeah. And I was also going to suggest the Blue House in Wan Chai. I thought that was well, I'm slightly proud to be involved because that was in fact a project that it was the ex-CEO, ex-CE's baby. Kerry was actually was driving that project, and that was the first. I think we could say that would be the first community preservation project apart from building preservation. So the majority of the original residents are still living on the premises.
Yes.
And they are now running the program and running the managing the building as well. Yeah. So there are some good success story, but for those we do need government's support and drive into that.
Yeah, the brew house is really successful in Wan Chai. Apart from those retain those local residents, and they also partner with St. James Settlement, just next door.
Yes.
So they have create a synergy. I remember I visit brew house some years ago before COVID. The courtyard is really beautiful. When you walk along the Lola Street, 石水渠街, you can see just a 3 or 4 story blue building, and it looks so messy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so big, but when we go inside, it's another world. It's another world.
But what was interesting of that courtyard experience is the whole idea of the usage of the courtyard was not actually driven by ourselves, as architect, or by St. James or by government. It actually come out, from the residents. So that is they should claim credit to it, because the participation of them actually, because they are the people who will live there,
building,
and they know the neighborhood, they know the requirements. So that's why getting the residents to participate in the process is so important. And they even, donated their own belongings and artifacts and the stuff that have been passed on to, from generations for display, and even, old films, that are sponsoring, because one of the events they held there is showing old films in the courtyard. So that's all of the residents' ideas. I think that we try to draw parallel of this project to, and another earlier project I mentioned in Liverpool. I think both are heavily involved by the local residents.
Okay, that's good. I saw Mary has already turned on the lovely mall. It seems it's our time to take group photo.
Yeah, Alfred, you need to show your camera again. So I think it's time for us to take a group photo. So yeah, it would be great if everyone can turn on your camera.
Oh, Terence is here. He's one of our GCP students visiting Malaysia and have done the service trip, rainwater harvesting system. Very successful trip.
Yeah, thank you.
Sandra, hello, and Hoi Ko. Okay, Melody, am I ready? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm waiting for you guys. So yeah, let's take a photo. Like 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, I just took one. Do you want to have one more?
Okay, one more.
One more? Okay. So yeah. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, I think we got 2.
Okay, that's good. I can go home now. I hope it's still signal free, not signal egg in this moment.
Signal 3 still.
Signal free. Okay, I'm still safe. Okay, thank you very much. I hope we can visit Yangon again very soon. Of course, we don't have a direct flights from Hong Kong to Myanmar nowadays, but we can have a transit in Bangkok or somewhere. Anyway, just wish you all the best. In Hong Kong, we are going to have a typhoon. Signal X, probably 9 or 10 in the coming 2 days. But anyway, even though outside is raining, our heart is still hot. So thank you very much. Melody, it's your turn to close the EWB night tonight.
Huh? I thought you would like to close it already. Yeah.
Okay.
Once again, we might donate, and donate.
Okay, thank you very much. Good night, good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Lovely
you.
to see you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.